All right, welcome, my friends, to the show that never ends. We're so glad you could attend. Come inside, come inside. Matt Schifferly back again. Another episode here of the Red Delta Project podcast live stream and live feed Q&A here on the Red Delta Project YouTube channel. I'm your humble host, as always, here to help you be fit and live free. And today we are discussing the three main characteristic traits that you want to abide by in order to adopt, well, the general habits in general of fitness and life as a whole, but especially when it comes to building workouts that work best for you. Because it's no secret that different things work differently for other people. And a lot of times we can get lost into the nuances and the distractions of do it this way and you'll get results. And you do this workout and you'll build muscle and do this diet and you burn fat and stuff. And it certainly works very well to sell programs and get likes on social media. But at the end of the day, we are unique individuals. All of us are going to get our best results following different approaches. And more than that, those approaches are just going to naturally change over time. I know one of the big traps that a lot of people find themselves in is they're looking for that kind of happily ever after solution. Like, okay, give me the program and then I'm always going to be good. And it's going to get me to the promised land of the results that I want. And then I ride off into the sunset and live happily ever after. Or give me the diet that's going to give me the body that I want and help me lose the weight. And then I get to be happy for the rest of my life and, all fine and good. It's the fairy tale ending, so to speak. Ride off into the sunset, go off to the castle with the prince or the princess, and you'll live happily ever after. Yeah, there's a reason why that's called a fairy tale, my friends. It doesn't work that way because what's going to work best for you is going to not only be different for you, slightly different for everyone else, but it's also going to be different for you in the future as it is now. And what's best for you now is going to be from the past. The number of times that I've worked with individuals who seem stuck up on what worked for them 10, 15, sometimes 30 years ago, they're like, well, when I was in college, I did X, Y, and Z and it worked great. It's like, yeah, but you're 62 now. Things are a little different than when you were in college. But if you keep trying to hammer square pegs into round holes, then that's where you get a lot of the stress and a lot of the hardship, not to mention seriously falling short of your results. So today we're going to be discussing the three things that you want to be aware of and abide by in order to constantly be making the changes and adaptations to your habits so that you can get the best possible results as easily as possible and maintaining those results as well. And I'll always, as always, be addressing your questions in the comment section here. So come on in, ask me anything you like. All right, so first and foremost, trait number one of workouts that work best for your goals is recognizing that your workouts are effective because of how well they help you achieve the three fundamental objectives. And this is one of the big lessons from my book, Be Fit, Live Free, where I talk about how your ability to build muscle and lose weight and do all the things you're trying to do isn't going to depend solely on your workout routine. I know that's one of the many distracting things in our fitness culture that I'll be discussing in next week's episode about how many approaches that people will advocate for, it's like, oh, if you want to get in shape, you have to do things this way, are actually distracting you from what's going to fundamentally get you the results you want. And the result or the lesson from that book that I ultimately discovered after 15 years of coaching and research and trying to figure out how this whole fitness thing works is that no, you don't get results because you follow a certain workout routine. You're not going to lose weight because of your cardio plan or you're in zone 2 or how many sets and reps you do and stuff. That stuff is important. I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but I'm saying it's not responsible for the results that you are after. Instead, the results that you're after depend on how well or how much your habits can help you achieve the three fundamental objectives of effective training. I don't care what routine you follow. I don't care what exercises you do. I don't care what tools you use. All of that stuff is the more superficial stuff that isn't really all that important when it comes to getting results. Back in the day, when I was first getting into experience in fitness, I would have sworn on a stack of Bibles I'm in shape because I follow a low-fat diet and I'm a complete cardio junkie. And then after college, I was like, I want to build muscle. And I became a total free weight zealot. And I was like, free weights are best. If you want to build muscle, you got to lift free weights. And then I got really big into like hammer strength equipment. I even practically begged the local gym that started to have a lot of hammer strength equipment, like, please let me work here. Please let me be a trainer here so I could have access to that equipment, because I thought the best way to build muscle and strength is you got to work out on hammer strength equipment, right? And throughout this whole process, I was completely valid in my beliefs because I followed the low-fat diet, I felt better, and I lost a ton of body fat. I became a complete cardio junkie, and my energy shot through the roof, and I won bike races, and again, I kept myself down to single-digit body fat year-round. When I started lifting free weights, I built muscle like a weed because I hadn't been doing any strength training beforehand. And I was like, yep, free weights are definitely better, but man, I got these nagging little injuries here and there. So then I started using high grade weight machines on the hammer strength equipment. And again, so every step of the way, I was getting results that told me, yes, this is the way, this is the path. But of course, that was a bit misleading and distracting because I was turning a pretty blind eye to the fact that, well, that guy over there is a hell of a lot stronger and more jacked than I am, and all he's using is a pull-up bar. Wait a minute, that guy over there still has very visible abs, and he doesn't follow a low-carb diet or a low-fat diet. In fact, he's eating pizza and burgers every time I see him. Like, what the heck? Of course, I should have in my back of my mind going like, something's not quite right here. But I hadn't reached that level of maturity in my own career and in my own training. I thought, yep, if it's working for me, then that must be the one true absolute truth and way of doing things because it's working. But that's, of course, not how life works. And that's not how fitness works. One person can take up running and follow a low-carb diet and drop weight. The next person can do exactly the same thing and get fatter, right? There's no one single true way that's going to produce a reliable result for everybody all of the time. And that's because people are just different. Bruce Lee said it best. He's like, it just so happens people are different. And so we need to be able to respect and abide by our differences and not treat ourselves like we're all cookie cutter human beings that come from the same mold, that all come from the same background. We all have our differences. And so when we go after our fundamental objectives of our training, that allows you to have your own individualistic pursuits, but at the same time, abiding by the scientific principles that are responsible for your results. Again, I cover these much more in Be Fit, Live Free in my book, Micro Workouts as well. Micro Workouts, excuse me. But the three fundamental objectives of effective workouts are: one is energy expenditure, burning fat and calories, right? Number two is neuromuscular conditioning, basically making your muscles work really hard, either tension, endurance, or a combination of the two. And three is proficiency. Just can you use your body in a more skillful manner in order to perform at a higher level? And that could literally be anything from being able to stand on one leg without tipping over, to having more mobility, to just simply having a better golf swing, right? It's just saying, I'm trying to do the thing better, right? It's worth repeating that you always accomplish all three of these objectives with every physical movement you ever do throughout your entire life. So it's not quite true to say that nothing or anything out there doesn't work. Everything always works 100% of the time for every single person to at least some degree. And if you climb up a flight of stairs, right, it's nothing, but it's like you're burning fat and calories while doing it. You're engaging and working your muscles to some degree to be able to work up against gravity, and you are using your muscles in some sort of coordinated pattern to be able to climb stairs, right? So everything always does all three. So you don't have to worry about, will this workout, will this routine, will this exercise accomplish this objective? The answer is always yes, of course it is. Everything does. The thing to ask yourself is this going to be an effective way to accomplish that objective to a higher degree? That's what you want to ask yourself. Okay, I can burn calories just simply standing in front of this camera instead of sitting. You stand, you burn more calories standing than sitting. So if I just stand up right now, I'm burning more calories. However, is that going to be a significant increase in my rate of caloric expenditure if I'm trying to like get leaner in body fat? Not really. No. So it's not a question of is it effective? It's like, how effective is it? Well, if I go out for a 5 hour hike up a 14er out here, yeah, I'm going to burn a lot of calories doing that. So, of course, that's going to be a much bigger influence in helping me achieve the objective of caloric expenditure. Same thing with neuromuscular conditioning, right? I pick up this glass of water and I take a drink. That took some degree of work and energy in my arm. Is that enough for me to build bigger biceps? Not really. It's there, but it's not really that much of an influence. But if you ask yourself, well, what if I pick up this weight, this dumbbell, or this heavy log, right? Oh, wow, my muscles have to work so much harder. There you go. So usually it's very self-evident if something is going to be a more productive way to achieve one of those three fundamental objectives. And that's what you want to use as your compass needle when choosing your methods and habits. We get lost a lot of times. They're like, what's the best thing out there, right? There's a lot of YouTube videos, the best exercise to build muscle, the best exercises for burning fat, the best routine to functional fitness and all. No, it's just stuff getting you clicks. It doesn't have any validity to it outside of just general remarks and recommendations. Instead, you want to be more attentive to what is your objective that you're trying to achieve, and then what do you think is the best way for you to do it? And that goes into the other two variables, which we'll explore here in a second. But let me get into some of the comments and questions coming on. Philip's Journey coming on, saying, not a question. I want to tell you, thank you very much for knowledge and wisdom you shared through the years. Helped me immensely in my health and fitness. Thank you. Thank you very much, Phillips. Much appreciated. Zaid, my man, my friend, excuse me, coming on. Matt, given that I don't enjoy working leg day, is it valuable in the long run to just do basics like squats and bridges without progression? Sure, absolutely. Yes, because you can, I'm getting all tongue-tied here. Yes, remember that it's perfectly fine and valid to reach some degree of proficiency and strength and stuff and just kind of put your hands up and be like, I'm done, I'm finished, that's it, that's all I want, that's all I want to get out of this. That's all actually awesome, because now you can put your time, energy, and attention into other things, which are probably, I would argue, in most cases, much more important, right? We don't need to endlessly chase after better results, more weight, more reps. Like, at what point does it end? It's very good to achieve a level of success with something, even if it's relatively low, and be like, yeah, that's getting me what I want. And I've believed this for many years. I wrote about it in my quick read PDF, the Ultimate Minimalist Fitness Program, where this is a program geared for individuals who want to take care of themselves, who want to be healthy, who want to at least look somewhat good, with their shirt off and stuff, but they just don't want to make fitness their thing, right? You don't want to make it an obsessive thing. And I talk about how there's basic floor-based exercise, of which basic squats and lunges can come, and the vast majority of people are going to be more than fine with just that for their legs. You're going to build enough strength, mobility, and stability in your legs. I would counter that if most people could do just that, that's all you're ever going to need. Are you going to get more if you start really training hard? Yeah, maybe. But again, it doesn't matter if you get more. It matters if it's worth it to you. Lots of times people will really buckle down and sacrifice and work their tail off to get to a high result. And then they look at the top of the peak of the mountain and they're like, well, that doesn't really help me much. That's not really a worthwhile thing, right? So yeah, that's perfectly fine, Zeit, to say, yeah, I get squats and lunges, but I will counter and say there's always room for progression on a proficiency side of things. I've been doing Taekwondo since I was 10. I'm still learning how to do a basic front kick better, how to do a side kick better, how to use my muscles better for more stability with a kicking combination and stuff. I'm always learning how to do things better. You can do the same thing with squats and lunges as well. You don't need to add weight. You don't need to add reps and stuff. You can always really fine tune the details through your regular practice. And it doesn't take any more time or energy and effort in order to do that, but it will help you keep still making some degree of progress and your ability to just use your legs on a higher level of proficiency. So you don't need to necessarily pursue high levels of strength and endurance, but you probably can still make some degree of progress just by focusing on your proficiency of the technique. Shamar Thomas, hey, Matt, hope you're great. Really loving your content. However, I'm curious to know, what's your favorite way to build strong lungs? Yeah, I know I meant probably, oh, strong lungs. Yeah. I'm sorry, I jumped the gun. I was thinking legs from our previous question. I don't need to worry about strong lungs because the lungs don't necessarily need to be strengthened. You're probably asking more about strong wind, and that's, believe it or not, that's still very much a muscular thing. We've got our cardiovascular system, but it's more the intracellular respiration of the muscles. That's the quote strong lungs that we're talking about here. So I have observed and certainly experienced, and the science backs me up on this, that intensity can be a very good thing. Back when I was a bike racer, I mean, you don't get more intense than being a mountain bike racer. It's basically sprinting your ever-living heart out for a solid hour and a half every Wednesday. And when I was good at that, it's like I never got out of breath doing anything. Like right now, one of my harder cardiovascular challenges is free sparring in Taekwondo. My wind isn't all that good. So I will go 2 minutes in the ring, and at the end of it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I'm so gassed out. I'm breathing hard. I would go 2 minutes and barely break a sweat because mountain biking was so much more intense. So I would say use whatever methods you like that are kind of increasing your heart rate up and rock on that intensity. Set a timer, go for a distance that's relatively short, something that's really causing you to challenge your wind, if you will, over the next 90 seconds or so, 60 to 90 seconds. Shadow boxing is really good on that. Hill sprints are really good on that. Rowing machine, even you can find circuits on YouTube of people doing exercises that really just jack up the heart rate. It was like, okay, 20 burpees, okay, 20 punches, okay, 20 squats, and you just run through that real quick. That'll go through it. You're looking for that metabolic demand as the bottom line. Okay, so this goes along with objective number one, right? Energy expenditure. Or excuse me, I misspoke. That's not energy expenditure. We're looking at proficiency, aren't we? Can you do something better? That's a proficiency thing. So you gain that which you challenge. Use whatever methods, whatever exercises, whatever program you find. It's like, oh man, that really jacked my heart rate up. Holy smokes, I felt like I could never catch my breath. I don't care what it is, just do that. And it's going to be different for different people. So for me as a bike racer, a former bike racer and a mountain biker, it's kind of hard for me to really get my heart rate up a lot if I'm just going out for a casual bike ride. But if you give me a heavy bag and I'm punching it, that's going to do a great thing. So it's going to take some trial and error. But this goes into the second variable to consider for supremely effective exercises. Like, okay, we got our objective that we're trying to hit: energy expenditure, neuromuscular proficiency or conditioning, and then physical proficiency. And what can we do? That's your objective. That's what you're trying to do. How do you do that? Well, it could be tempting to be like, do whatever, but you don't want to just leave it completely free form. Instead, you want to work with your resources. Okay, so that's the second variable, is what resources do you have? And a lot of times in our fitness culture, this is something that is ignored or even straight out fought against with many people, where they're like, I don't care, what your excuses are. You got to do this thing anyway. It's like, I don't have time for that. Excuses. I don't have energy for that. Excuses. All you're doing is you're stating, like, I don't have much in the way of resources. To a large degree, fitness is basically a game of simple economics. I can't walk into a Ferrari dealership and say, I want a Ferrari, but I've only got like $5,000 to my name. And, they're not going to smack me upside the head and be like, I don't want excuses, maggot. No, they're going to be like, well, sorry, I guess it just isn't in the wheelhouse for you. I guess you can't get a Ferrari right now. Try and figure that out. I mean, how do you get the resources for that sort of thing? Like, that's what you do. When you stop, funny enough, making excuses about excuses, you can actually look at your situation and be like, oh yeah, I don't have much time, or I don't have energy, or equipment resources, right? And it's like, I don't have this. I'm training a gentleman right now who's traveling all throughout South America. And it's like every time I train him, he's in a different gym. So some gyms he's been in have been kind of sparse. It's like, okay, we've got a pair of 20-pound dumbbells and a pull-up bar. Okay, well, then got to work with that. I'm not going to be like, I don't care what your excuses are. You need to deadlift 500 pounds. And he'd be like, with what? Like, we don't have anything like that here, kind of thing. And in some gyms he's been in, they've been, very well equipped and everything. It's like, awesome. We got all sorts of toys to play with. So you've got to work with your resources, bearing in mind, again, that your resources are going to change. There's going to be times you're going to have more time and more energy and more equipment and more motivation. Great. You should be doing more. But there's also going to be times you're not going to have it. You're just not going to have it. You can have a, drill sergeant of a personal trainer yelling, no excuses in your face all day long. It doesn't change the fact that you just don't have it. You can't use energy you don't have. You can't use time you don't have. And it doesn't matter if you can find the time or make the energy or anything like that, because the bottom line is, you may say, I've got the energy and time, I just don't want to spend that. I'd rather spend it on something else. And that's perfectly valid as well. So it's more about, how can you achieve the objective, energy, neuromuscular conditioning, proficiency? How can you train for that objective using the resources you have? Okay. And adjust your approach depending on your changing of resources. But if you're in a Spartan gym with nothing but 20-pound dumbbells and a pull-up bar, that's what you got to use. And there's a million ways we can do that. I'm very adaptive and I'm creative with that. And we have great workouts. If you have only 15 minutes and you're hungover from partying the night before, but you're like, but I still want to get a bit of a workout in, great. I do this all the time with my clients, where they come in and they're like, I just got off the plane. I'm exhausted. I haven't slept very well. I haven't ate very well. I haven't done this. I'm stiff. I'm tight. I'm like, okay, you think I'm going to force you into a workout that's going to require time and energy and motivation and proficiency you just don't have? No, of course not. It's my job as a coach to make sure that your workout is in alignment with your resources. If you come to me and you're like, I want to get powerful and explosive and stuff, I'm like, oh, cool. Are you proficient in kettlebells by chance? And every time you pick up a kettlebell, it looks like you're like an epileptic monkey. No, we're not going to use kettlebells for building power and explosiveness. Yes, of course, kettlebells can be very effective for doing that. There's loads of people who build their power and explosiveness with kettlebells. It's awesome. It's wonderful. But if for whatever reason you've got the proficiency and the coordination, you can't use your hips for beans, you can't stabilize in your shoulders and back, and you're just wibbling and wobbling over the place, kettlebells sure as hell are not going to be a good solution for you. And you can have a stream on your social media of everybody telling you how great kettlebells are and how it's the best thing in the world and how it's going to change your life, and all of that does not matter. Because the bottom line is, you just don't have the proficiency to use the kettlebells very well for achieving that level of proficiency, aka strength power. Now, you can, of course, change that. You can get coaching, you can practice and everything like that. But until you become more proficient with it, your results are just going to suck. It's that simple. But if you are like, well, I like jumping, I can just simply jump in my backyard, and I can throw hands on a heavy bag and stuff like that because I've been a boxer for 20 years. Well, that's sure as hell going to be a hell of a lot more effective than using kettlebells, just because you have proficiency in that. You have the ability to do those things much more than kettlebell training. So the second variable is, what do you have for resources? Just simple ability. What do you have for time? What do you have for energy? What do you have for motivation? What do you have for equipment? What do you have for proficiency? What can you do? Bottom line. And ideally, your best path forward is not going to be what's best or what's, the hard. Even sometimes people are like, it's the hardest thing. No. The easiest thing is what you want. Follow the path of least resistance. Why do I ride my bicycle? Because it's the easiest way for me to get my cardio and burn a ton of fat and calories. I can do it 100 other ways, but biking is the easiest way for me to do that. So you do it. Do whatever's easiest for you to achieve that objective. If you're like, I want to build muscle and strength, but it is so hard for me to go to the gym, to wait for weight machines, to know how to set up the machines, to know how to program and work around the gym for circuits and everything. It's so hard for me to do that, to work my muscles, to challenge my muscular work capacity, build muscle. That's your objective. But I got some, selectorized dumbbells in the basement and a pull-up bar that I love using. And then I'm very proficient. Well, that's the easiest way to do it, so you should do that. The best results are going to come from whatever's easiest for you to achieve that objective, because that way you will achieve the objective a heck of a lot more, get better results, and it's going to be a lot easier to maintain your ability to achieve that objective on a consistent basis. So you're not only going to get far better results, you're going to be able to keep those results as well. Easy is best, my friends. Do what is easiest for you, not necessarily what someone else thinks is best. Woodrock Pete, like that avatar, man. Very cool. Hey, Matt, no question, but I can't wait for your new book. Yes, Beautiful Strength coming on out. I just posted a Beautiful Strength workout, my friends, here on the Red Delta Project YouTube channel. Basically, it's kind of a funny story behind it, but people were asking, how do I do a full body workout with the Beautiful Strength program? And that's exactly what I show you. I think the video is like 11 minutes long and stuff like that. But the funny thing was, I've gotten a couple of questions. People are like, gosh, I do full body workouts and they just leave me so tired and exhausted. How can I do this without being so exhausted? And I was like, okay, I'm going to make this workout and I'm going to program it in such a way that it doesn't leave me so exhausted, right? So I use my 2-set strategy that I talked about in a previous episode. That's the official little pack-in workout program for Beautiful Strength, where you do 2 sets per exercise, right? So I did a simple push-pull squat workout, 2 sets each, pull-ups, strap dips, and strap-assisted hover lunges. Real simple, right? I was like, this is how we can do this so that it's not going to completely exhaust you. And I ran through that. I got a great workout. I went upstairs and immediately fell asleep. It kicked my butt big time. I was like, well, so much for a workout that's not going to completely exhaust me, kind of thing, because it totally kicked my butt. But it is a good way to go about it. I haven't done full body training in quite a while. These days I'm kind of on a upper lower body split. It's just kind of what I've evolved to at this point, but still check it out. It's right there. It's probably right underneath this one if you're watching this, because I just posted it yesterday. But thank you very much for that. Sindar Thorax saying, Matt, since the muscle fiber can contract a part of itself, why do they say overcoming isometrics require training at multiple muscle lengths? Used to be multiple angles. Can you clear this up? Great question. So with isometrics, right, we're not changing our angle or our muscle length during the exercise. That's what isometric is referring to, is the length of the muscle. So if I'm doing a bicep curl, I'm holding a steady because the length of my biceps are at a certain length. I'm creating force against like a strap or isomax or something. So it's observed, of course, that adaptation to all forms of training is specific. It's the SAID principle, as they call it, specific adaptation to imposed demand. So whenever you're doing an exercise, fundamentally what that exercise is doing is saying, be able to do this exercise this way. Okay? There's no such thing as weight loss exercise. There's no such thing as strengthening exercise. There's no such thing as exercise for endurance or performance or stability. Every exercise at the very rock bottom fundamental level is do this thing this way. That's what all training does in every aspect. Now, if you need strength, endurance, stability, all these other things we other want in order to do that thing in that way, then yes, you can get those things and progress in those ways. But ultimately, it's always about do this thing this way. So if you're doing an isometric, and let's say my arm is bent 90 degrees as I'm doing a bicep curl, then I am directly telling my biceps, be as strong as you can be at exactly this angle with the muscles at this length. Now, when we move or use our muscles in any way, different way, you're right. You don't use your muscle fibers in any way, shape, and form. A muscle fiber is either relaxed or it's contracted. It's called the all or nothing principle. However, when you move or you change something about your technique, you're not changing how that muscle fiber is firing. Okay, if I've got a fiber and it contracts, and you were looking through a microscope and you were looking at that fiber, you would have in no way, shape, or form telling what that muscle is doing, because you're like, the muscle fiber is contracted. And if I was doing a different exercise, you'd be like, yep, still looks the same. Now we change this other thing. Doesn't look any different as far as that muscle fiber is concerned. Because when a fiber is contracted, doesn't matter what the exercise is, doesn't matter how you're doing it, doesn't matter your angle, doesn't matter if it's dynamic or isometric or anything. However, the difference in the performance of the muscle as a whole comes from the sequence and the firing rate, or the speed at which those fibers are firing, okay? So think of it this way, right? Let's say your muscle is the keyboard on a piano, right? If I hit, I don't know music for anything, so I'm sure I'm getting this wrong, but a C flat, ding, if I hit that key, ding, like that, it doesn't matter if I'm playing show tunes or Beethoven or Al Yankovic or whatever, that C flat, ding, is always ding, doesn't matter what I'm playing. However, the music I'm playing depends on whether I'm playing that C flat in what sequence relative to the other keys. It's the same thing with your muscle fibers, right? The muscle fiber is contracted, it's always doing exactly the same thing no matter what you do. But the sequence of which you're firing off your, well, not so much muscle fibers, but motor units, the neuron attached to the fibers, in which sequence, that's what changes in your performance. So with isometrics, if you create strength at a certain length, then obviously if you are trying to create strength at a different length, the ability to do that will be varied some way. Now, the old adage with isometrics used to be, if you have strength at a certain length, you have no strength whatsoever improving on every other length and stuff, which is totally not correct at all. Muscle contracting is going to make the muscle stronger for everything you use that muscle for in all cases, in some way, shape, or form. But if I'm using my biceps at a certain length and I want them to be strong, straight, if I'm like purposely saying I also want them to be as strong as possible also with a straight arm, well, then I should also train the straight arm just to get that that extra little bit of direct stimulus for that specific adaptation, right? This is why you'll never have any kind of strength and conditioning program that gets you perfectly strong and capable at everything. You're always going to have a limited amount of functional carryover and strength, no matter what you do. Every exercise you ever do is going to be limited because you're only adapting to the specific adaptation of that demand. And then how much carryover you have to everything else depends on how similar that demand is. So when you're training your muscles at different lengths, then you're theoretically creating a broader stimulus for more functional carryover. Doesn't mean you don't have any carryover, it's just a little bit more. How much more? It remains to be seen for different exercises, but I would say in general, it's probably not really that important. The biggest reason why you want to train different muscle lengths for isometrics is simply variety, right? Sometimes when we're strength training, things can feel a little bit stale. If you're training, for example, constantly 3 sets of 10, you go into the gym and you're like, okay, let's go with 5x5 now. Let's go heavier, with shorter reps. It's going to use your muscle, AKA different sequence and rate of firing of those motor units and muscle fibers to create a kind of a fresh and new stimulus. And it's the same thing with isometrics. It's different angles. It's like, oh, wow, now that I'm at this angle, I can really feel my lats fire up more, or I can really feel it more in my glutes or whatever. That's the main reason why. But yeah, if you contract a muscle fiber, it doesn't matter what exercise you're doing. It doesn't matter what angle you're at or whatever. That fiber, as far as it's concerned, is doing the same thing in all cases. So it's not so much about the fibers. It's more about the collective use of the fibers. That's what I probably should have led with there. Long-term answer here. Shivan, good to see you. Hey, Matt, basic principles to follow to lose weight. I jumped 10 kilograms in a year, working out for 7 years, never seen even my own abs. Very good. So, so principles of losing weight. I mean, obviously, so here we go. Objectives, right? Fundamental objectives. Talk about it in my book, right? We want to lose weight. We've got to be in a caloric deficit. There's just no two ways about it. That's why we lose weight. Fundamentally, that's why we do it. You could do it a million different ways, though. And remember that when it comes to caloric balance, energy exchange, half of it's diet, half of it's physical expenditure, energy expenditure. So that means usually that diet is a lower effort, higher influence activity. People often will overstate that and they'll be like, oh, it's all diet. Exercise doesn't do anything for you. That's not true. That's wrong. It's just that typically it's a lot easier. Again, easier is best for people to say, I'm going to cut out some junk food. I'm going to drink less. I'm going to swap my, high test sodas for green tea. That's relatively easy for me to do. And it can have a massive caloric influence on your intake versus, okay, I'm going to go and burn 800 calories. Whew, it's going to take over an hour on the treadmill, and I hate running, and it sucks to get to the gym, and it's uncomfortable and everything. So now you're looking at high effort, low influence, or relatively low influence. So you always want to be looking at what is a low effort, high influence activity, low cost, high reward. That's easiest, right? So when it comes to getting in that caloric deficit, do whatever you want. And that's part 3 here. This is the third key, is that we need to achieve our fundamental objective. So if you're doing physical activity, you got to burn good calories. That's your objective there. Number 2 is you got to work with your resources. Okay, so if you suck at running and you don't like going outside because it's negative 40 degrees out something, then yeah, you don't have those kinds of resources. Don't try and force yourself to use resources you don't have. So what kind of things do you have energy for? What kind of things do you have time for? You can burn a lot of calories. I knew a guy who lost over 40 pounds through walking. Walking can be a supremely effective way to burn calories. But I would talk to him on Monday, and his name was Ford. I was like, Ford, what'd you do this weekend? Walk 30 miles. I'm like, dear Lord, man, how in the world, like, how long does that take you? And he's literally like waking up Saturday morning and practically walking throughout all of Saturday until dinner time, going to bed, and then doing it again on Sunday. It's like, whoa, I don't have that kind of time, but he did. So he's using the time, and he had a proficiency for walking, but more importantly, he had a love for walking. He loved doing it. And that's why it worked so well for him, because he was achieving that fundamental objective. He was using the resources that he had, and he went and abide by his personal preferences, his desires, because we're ultimately very emotional creatures. Humans are emotional creatures. We're going to do the things that we ultimately just want to do in life. And so it doesn't matter if I went up to my friend and I was like, running's a more superior way to burn fat calories. Science says this. If he hates running with a passion, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He could force himself to run for maybe a week or two, but ultimately he's like, this sucks. I don't want to do this. Because at the end of the day, you're going to end up doing what you want to do anyway. The exception to that is if you're in a situation where you absolutely have to do something otherwise. If I joined the military and in boot camp, they're like, we're going to run 10 miles every single day. It doesn't matter if I don't like running. I have to run in order to, go through the boot camp. But very rarely do we find ourselves in a situation where a particular approach or method is absolutely required. And if it's not required, then it will depend very much on just personal preference. What do you like to do? If you don't like going to the gym, you're not going to go to the gym. If you don't like long, tedious workouts, you're not going to do volume training. If you don't inherently have vested interest in being vegan, you're not going to be vegan. Your preferences, your desires, your emotional drive will win out sooner or later. So I'm just saying, don't fight it. Don't spend all of that time and energy and stuff fighting something that's ultimately a losing battle. If you have a preference for, like, I really like salads, I really like elliptical training, while watching football or whatever, I really like doing things this way, do that. Achieve your objective, use the resources that you have available, and abide by your preferences. Who cares if someone's like, the elliptical is not effective, you can't out-train a bat, blah, 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 blah. Who cares? It does not matter. If you're like, dude, I love burning a lot of calories on the elliptical, it feels so good to me, and I enjoy using it, I feel like I can do it, it works well with my body, my knees aren't the way they used to be and stuff, and you can achieve the objective of burning a lot of calories, go for it. And then look for, ways to change your dietary preferences as well. Where's the luxury calories? Where can you cut back? But cut back in easy ways, right? If I came up to you and you're like, yep, no more pizza, no more beer, no more cheeseburgers for the rest of your life. And you'd be like, oh, geez, I really don't want to do that, but okay, I guess. You're not going to do it. You can do it for a while, but you're just not going to do it. Instead, find it's like, okay, so how can I decrease my caloric expenditure or intake rather for at least a short period of time and still have those foods in my diet? Because that's what's going to work best for you. Send me an email here, Shivam. Send me an email. I'm going to send you a free copy of my book, Calorie Hacking. That'll give you some more ideas and stuff like that. Hit me up with the email and I will send that out to you, the free PDF. Because that's often something that's a good way to go as well, especially if you're looking at like losing about 14 pounds or so. It can be a good approach to this. But burn the calories, cut back the diet in easy ways when and where you can, and use your resources and preferences. And that's the way we have all three of these working together. Achieve the objective, use what you've got, and abide by your preferences. That's going to give you the best result for you, what's best for you. Karsten, it's good to see you, my friend. Thanks a lot for workout videos. Knowledge, very inspiring. Thank you very much. Much appreciated, very much for the kind words, my friends. Zaid saying, calorie tracking helps me stay on point. Yep. I'm wondering, is there a way to provide fuel for building muscle while increasing calories by gaining minimal fat in the process? Yeah. So this is often asked by those who, get there's a lot out there of like, oh, you got to eat like crazy in order to build muscle and stuff. And yeah, building muscle is like anything else that increases your caloric demand. You want to eat in order to satisfy the demand, because that's how the body works. If you're doing anything that makes the body say, hey, we need some energy here in order to do this thing, then yeah, you want to eat more in order to satisfy that demand. When I became a bike racer, I damn near had to double my calorie intake because the training regimen was so hard. I was doing, in some cases, 4 bike races in a single weekend. It was absolutely brutal. So yeah, I went from like 3,000 calories to almost 6,000 calories a day that I had to eat. I wasn't eating to build myself up. I was eating to satisfy the increase in demand. Building muscle, same exact thing, right? So in order to do this, first and foremost is, as I always say, before you want to gain weight, before you want to lose weight, get your diet stable. Get your weight stable. I address this in my book on calorie hacking. Like the big mistake a lot of people make is their diet's kind of all over the place and they're up and down and left and right and everything. And then they're like, I want to lose weight. I want to build muscle. I want to get bigger and stuff. And so they just start randomly doing whatever. They're like, okay, no more carbs, no more sugar, or I'm just going to eat a dozen eggs every morning for breakfast or whatever. They have no bearing, no stable foundation upon which to base their judgment off of, which means they don't know if they're actually achieving that fundamental objective, right? Your ability to achieve a further degree of that objective that you're after, both with workout and with diet, depends on you're making a change, but how much is that a change from your normal? Okay, that's the delta. That's a change. That's the delta in Red Delta Project. What is the change? But if your habits initially are all over the place and you don't know what you were really doing beforehand, then any change you have is just a random guess shot in the dark based on estimations and guesswork. So first and foremost, just get to a stable place in your diet. Get to a good place to start, breakfast, lunch, dinner. The 3 P's that I talk about ad nauseum, again, in my books, is every meal have protein. Every meal have a plant-based source. It could just be tea with breakfast or something. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, just something plant-based. And then just make sure your portion is in check to be a consistent amount so you're just satisfying yourself. Get that first. Don't even think about grams. Don't even think about, I know you mentioned counting calories, so that gives you a baseline too. But don't even think about making a change until you get that stuff taken care of first. And you can get it for a few weeks and you're like, okay, I'm good. Then create a delta. Then change. Okay, I'm eating half of what I usually eat for lunch. Good. That is certainly a delta in caloric intake. You know, how much doesn't matter. It's a delta. It's a change. That's all you need is that change. Same thing with building muscle. Like, oh, I usually have 3 eggs in the morning. I'll have 4. Okay. I usually have a sandwich, and now I'm asking for extra meat. Increase from your normal just a bit. See what happens, because you should be able to know what normal is and then what an increase is, and have that increase happen from hopefully foods that are supporting you, very nutrient dense foods, protein sources, plant sources, that sort of thing. Every once in a while, you can also just be like, you know what? I really started just putting on muscle, and I just went out and had a burger and fries from Five Guys every Friday or something. That's certainly a way to go about it too. Sometimes you just need more calories. The old school bodybuilders and stuff were not afraid of calories in food. I mean, they would drink whole milk and they would eat ice cream like crazy. I think I heard a story of like Mike Metzer one time. Like he's like, I always keep candy bars in my car. It's like just to make sure I've got calories coming in. It's like just get the calories in. But unless you're eating pretty sparse, I wouldn't worry so much about that. But get to a stable place in your diet where you're getting some real good solid meals 3 times a day. And that alone may do it for you. And then you can bump it up, protein and plant portions. And if you start putting on some body fat, well, know that you're eating enough. Remember, a caloric surplus does not build muscle. Caloric surpluses make you fat, because that's what a surplus actually is. If you eat more and you build muscle, that's not a surplus. That's exactly like when I was in college and I was like, I need to eat more in order to support my bike racing. And I did. And I became a better bike racer. But that wasn't a surplus. No one in the right mind would be like, oh, Matt's racing better. He's in a caloric surplus. No, it's just I have a increase in demand. I ate more to satisfy the demand. I'm good. And so if you start putting on body fat, and don't worry about a little bit more. But if you're starting to be like, oh yeah, I mean, I've known guys who are like, oh yeah, 40% body fat kind of thing. It's like, I still need to eat more. I'm like, no, you don't. You're fat, dude. You've got a lot of fat. You're putting on fat. You're eating more than you need to. It's that simple. We get fat because we eat calories our body has no need for. And if you have no need for it, it's not helping you build muscle. Zero. Saying, my friend, which is the best piece of advice in order to be pain-free in joints in general in the long term? Very good question. Strength, my friends. Strengthen the muscles. Make sure you're using your muscles well as well. Muscle tension is the big thing. Remember, stress in a joint means oftentimes, there could be something wrong with the joint. Got to make sure you're checking that out. If you have arthritis and torn meniscus or something like that, then you have physical joint damage and you need to get that addressed. But a lot of times, stress in a joint means weakness in muscle somewhere, because your muscles are like the shock absorbers of the body. They're the shock absorbers that handle the stress, so your joints don't have to. And I get questions all the time from people saying, oh, how do I strengthen my tendons? How do I strengthen my ligaments and stuff? Muscles or ligaments and tendons are inherently stronger than almost anything else in your body. They are incredibly tough as long as the stress isn't going into them. And if it's going into them, then it means a muscle somewhere is not doing its job. So isometrics is particularly good at retraining your muscles to engage, and you be used in a very synergistic way. Like bridges, for example. When it comes to your posterior chain, a lot of people have trouble engaging certain muscles in the posterior chain. If you do a simple hip bridge, like a table bridge, you should feel your calves, hamstrings, and glutes driving like crazy. You shouldn't feel it all in your lower back. And then your entire back should be engaged for the sake of stability. So your lower back's kind of like a joint. How do you protect your lower back? You have all the other muscles working really hard. Your lats, your erectors, especially your glutes and your hamstrings. You get those suckers firing up, you get those really nice and strong, lower back's not even talking to you. It's not even there. So pain in a joint means a muscle's not doing something. So look at, are your glutes on, your hamstrings, your quads, what's not firing very well in a particular exercise. Oh, these dips are really hurting my shoulders. Okay, something's not working. Chances are very good it's your back. You shouldn't have shoulder pain when dipping. You shouldn't even have shoulder stress. You should be like, oh yeah, these are easy. In the video I posted yesterday on my beautiful strength workout, I did sissy squats kind of as a little bit of a a finisher. And inevitably, everyone, or not everyone, but someone always comments like sissy squats will ruin your knees. Yeah, I know. I used to think that too. I had terrible knees. It's because I wasn't using my muscles very well. And of course, sissy squats hurt my knees because I didn't know what I was doing. Now I have really good activation in my calves and my glutes and my quads and range of tension and all that. So when I do sissy squats, there's no more stress on my knees when I'm doing sissy squats than if I just walk down a flight of stairs. There's nothing there because the muscles are absorbing the force. So it can be a little bit of a detective work. You're like, okay, I got this joint pain going on with this exercise. What's going on? What muscle's not firing up and stuff? But that's what's going on, is be able to engage your muscles in a synergistic way. That's why our warm-ups for both grind style calisthenics and for beautiful strength involve shift work, tension control, engaging the muscles to a degree. And yes, again, I put that warm-up in the workout yesterday. Just 3 exercises. I had reaching bridges, T-planks, and shifting squats. Very good exercises for, quote, strong joints, resiliency, because I'm getting the muscles fired up. I'm getting that good activation throughout my whole body. So as a result, there's almost no stress in my joints throughout the entire workout. So that's what you want to be looking for. Matt, what's your favorite pushing exercise for shoulders? Who cares what my favorite exercise is? What's your favorite exercise? That's what's going to build your shoulders. So this is, again, why a lot of times, going with your preferences is important. Because there's lots of stuff out there of guys like me saying, this is an awesome exercise. This is this. It doesn't matter what I think, and what matters what you think. What you think is your best exercise for you working your shoulders. I'm a big fan of pike push-ups myself, though. Love pike push-ups. I put my feet up on a box and stuff. Can really get those dialed in, keep my back engaged to a high degree. Love getting the elbows in nice and tight. So that's what I like to do. Pike push-ups. I got some exercises, variations and stuff out there on your couple of workouts that you can find. But I really like that exercise. Allows me to really get my shoulders really fired up. And I'm a guy who's always had trouble with my shoulders. A lot of shoulder injuries, a lot of shoulder pain, stubborn growth, all that. Because again, shoulder joint pain is coupled with shoulder instability and weakness. Now that my shoulders are stronger, my back is much more stable, no more shoulder issues, right? I didn't make my shoulder joints stronger. I made the muscles that support them much stronger. So it's coming on, Matt. Dr. Mike. I love Dr. Mike. He's so cool. His videos are hilarious too. On YouTube, say that our body is very good at making do with what resources it gets nutrition-wise. Absolutely, yes. Remember that all adaptation our body goes through with both diet and exercise is to achieve and regain and maintain a state of homeostasis. So if you're eating nothing but junk food and fast food, one meal a day, your body's going to go through whatever adaptations it needs to find some way to be as healthy and survive as best it can in those circumstances. And that's why a lot of times when people have a diet of a lot of junk food and stuff like that, they're like, oh, that's all I crave. It's like, yes, you taught your body that that's what is in your environment. So your body's like, well, I guess that's what we're living off of. So that's what I'm going to ask for. It's the same thing with healthy food and things like that. Is your body's always just saying, dude, what do you got for me? What can you give me for food? And if you're feeding it Doritos and soda and Big Macs and that's it, it's like, all right, well, I'm going to do the best I can with what I got. And that's how it's going to survive, because your body doesn't want to be healthy. It just wants to survive. It just wants to live so you can procreate before you die. That's really what Mother Nature has built us for. But when we eat healthier and we're providing better nutrition and adequate calories and a more robust diet to us, we're effectively like telling the body, hey, you've got plenty of resources now. You got lots of nutrition. You got plenty of calories. You got all this good stuff. And the body just goes, all right, great. Hold my beer. I'm going to make all kinds of great things. I'm going to bolster up my immune system. I'm going to build muscle. I'm going to have great energy. I'm going to do all these sorts of things to recover well. Basically, you're taking the brakes off. You're removing limitation as you're giving your body great supportive things. And it's going to say, great, if we got this, we're going to go with it. It's no different than if you just had better resources for yourself. If you suddenly made a lot more money and you were like, okay, great, now we got money. I'm going to invest. I'm going to build. I'm going to do great things, kind of thing. It's the same thing. So a lot of times, your diet can hold you back, not because it's quote unhealthy, but just because you're not giving your body much to use. So if you're looking to build muscle and you're looking to be healthy and stuff, that's why the Red Delta Project approach to diet is eat to satisfy. That's our objective. Satisfy your base fundamental appetites, your nutritional appetite for basic nutrition, of course, hunger and metabolic support. So you're not like living off of carrot sticks and feeling like, oh, I'm always hungry. My energy level sucks. Well, yeah, because you eat like a bird. Don't do that. But your body is always going to adapt to whatever you give it to survive. It's like, okay, I guess this is all we got. So I'm going to do what I can with what I've got. But you give your body more, and if it can do more, it's going to use it. But if it doesn't need it, and that's why I was talking about a surplus earlier, it's going to be like, okay, I'm already tapped out. I'm already maxed as far as growth goes. So you're gulping down these high calorie protein shakes or whatever. I don't have a use for it. What do you want me to do with it? I'm going, okay, I'll turn it to fat, I guess. That's when you get fatter, and it's not doing you any good because your body's like, yeah, I'm already good, dude. Thanks. 10,000 spoons when all you need is a knife. Irvine, it's good to see you, my friend. Saying, I've always done full body workouts, handful of exercise, and take a day or so off till the next workout. Keeps me fresh. If I do daily splits, I get so bored of it, it becomes a chore. It can, especially if you're doing a ton of different exercises for one body part too. A lot of times when people get into splits, they get a lot of redundancy in their workouts. I've seen some people, it's like, okay, leg day, and they're in the gym for like 3 hours. And it's like, how many different versions of a squat do you need, dude? Arm day, tons of time. It's like, how many different ways do you need to bend your elbow? So generally, splits are adapted for the sake of shorter workout durations. That full body workout that I recorded yesterday took me probably about 20 minutes with rest periods and stuff like that. For me, that's a long workout. That's a long time. Might have even been a half an hour with all said and done with, getting the camera set up and everything like that. But usually my workouts are like 15 minutes. They're half that. They're usually about 4 different exercises. So sometimes you've got boredom with a workout can be just a lot of redundant exercise. And that can really dilute your intensity as well. Book pilled, saying, if I do moderately challenging isometrics for half an hour a day without measuring anything, do you think I'll end up in a good place fitness-wise after a few months, or am I just wasting my time? Never wasting your time, my friend. Remember, exercise always works. It's always effective because you probably didn't hear earlier, as I was saying, every exercise you ever do is basically condition your body to be able to do the exercise. You're telling your body, I need you to be able to do this thing. So if you do isometrics, half an hour every single day, you're going to effectively condition your body to do isometrics for half an hour a day. Congratulations, if that's what your goal is, kind of thing. The real question is, what are you doing them for? What are you hoping to accomplish with that? Very rarely do people exercise for the sake of being able to do the exercise. They want something out of it. And that thing you get out of it depends on whether or not you're successfully achieving your fundamental objectives: expenditure, neuromuscular conditioning, and proficiency. And those are the objectives that really hold the key for your success. Whether or not you're doing that with half an hour a day of isometrics, who knows? Again, the success of your workouts does not come from your routine and program. The routine and program that you have only serves 2 purposes: to give you stability and point you in the right direction. That's all a routine can possibly do for you. Is it something you can stick to and consistently do? There's your stability. And is it conditioning and using your body in a way that points you in the right direction for that objective of energy expenditure, neuromuscular conditioning, and proficiency? Whether or not you actually achieve that objective to a high degree depends on how well you are doing the exercise. Does not come from a routine. You could give 100 people the same routine, and every single one of them is going to achieve a different level of an objective. If I said, okay, do 10 push-ups, you got one guy down there going like 8, 9, 10 push-ups. And another guy next to him is like 8, 9, and 10 push-ups, right? They're doing the same thing, but the level of the stimulus that they're creating is wildly different depending on their personal differences. So that's why you don't ever want to be like, okay, what's the routine that's going to get me results? What's the exercise that gets me results kind of thing? Because that's not where you get your results from. It's not coming from your routine and things like that. All the routine does is, can you stick to it? And is it pointing you in the right direction? That's it. And I would say, yeah, half an hour, you know, probably going to get you in the right ballpark. But change it however you like in order to achieve your objective, which I don't know what it is here. You didn't let me know, but yeah, probably in the ballpark. One of the great things about isometrics is it's practically a foolproof discipline too. It's like, I don't care how you program it. I don't care what you do with it. It's one of those things that's, no matter how you do it, you're probably going to be getting what you want out of it. It's beautiful in that respect. You know, a lot of times we're taught that your workout routine is like, boy, you got to get it just right in order to be effective. No, you don't. Yeah, I haven't even followed a workout routine in the past 6 years. Haven't missed it at all. Why? Because I don't care about my routine. I just care about, can I achieve that objective? And that's what is responsible for the result that I'm after. And the beautiful thing about isometrics is that you're contracting your muscles really hard, so you're pretty much guaranteed to build strength. If you're burning out your muscles, you're building the endurance. And if you're doing it within a reasonable amount of time, like within a minute or two, you're challenging your work capacity for building muscle. I don't know of anybody who does isometrics that doesn't do those things. So that's why isometrics is in many ways the purest form of strength training, because no matter, it's like almost no matter how you do it, you're going to get what you want out of it. Angelo, last couple of questions saying, is it worth doing a combat sport without sparring just for the cardio benefits? Of course, because you said it yourself, cardio benefits, right? That's your objective, right? You want cardio. You're like, I'm just here to burn some calories and get the heart rate up, and it feels good to unload some stress. You know, sometimes energy expenditure is not about fat and calories. Sometimes it's an emotional outlet too. You know, a lot of times I've known people, I've done it too, where it's like, I'm just going to go and waylay on the heavy bag for a few minutes because it feels good. Very cathartic, unload the stress of the day kind of thing. It's like, yeah, if that's all you want out of it, you know, and you're like, I don't care if I can defend myself or not, then yeah, you're getting what you want out of it kind of thing. Will that help you in self-defense? Maybe. You know, you can defend yourself just hitting anybody. My original instructor always said, you don't need to learn to fight. And drunk rednecks can fight outside of a bar, right? No one needs to learn how to fight. It's about having the control of your body and being able to fight better that you're going after. But yeah, I mean, I've been a martial artist since I was 10. I have no interest in fighting. I've never been in a fight in my life. I am very confident I am not a fighter. You know, people sometimes will watch UFC fights and stuff like, you think you could do that, Matt? No. Like, I can almost guarantee you if I get punched, I'm going down kind of thing. I'm not a fighter. I do Taekwondo for the benefits of learning Taekwondo and the health benefits, and it's fun and I enjoy it and all these other sorts of things. So that's why it's so important to understand what objective do you want to get out of the thing, right? And someone can come up to me and be like, I don't think you're going to be an effective fighter. You're not much of a warrior. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. It's not my objective from Taekwondo. You know, if by some chance I get in a situation and I got to kick somebody to protect myself, well, then I'm going to be glad I've got it, I guess. But I'm not sure as heck not going out looking for a fight in a bar room on a Saturday night. It's kind of like asking me on my mountain bike. It's like, do you think, you know, you're on your mountain bike, you're going to be effectively being able to travel across country? No, dude, if I need to go to California, I'm going to hop on a plane. You know, it's going to be the easiest way to achieve that objective. I'm not on this for the sake of transportation. I'm here for fun. I'm here for fitness. That's why I ride my mountain bike, and mission accomplished every single time. So yeah, I think you're doing a great job, man. All right, let's see what else we got here. Last couple of questions. Cristobal, good question. What kind of type of pull-up bar do you recommend for a small apartment? Depends on your mounting situation, of course. Ideally, I don't know if you can see, but I've got a pull-up bar right above me there. That's a Dash by Wild Jim. Straight pull-up bar is best. When in doubt, straight, simple pull-up bar, because then you can hang handles and things off of it if you want different angles and stuff. Ideally, the best pull-up bar you can get is something that is not with strict handles, because then you get the versatility to do whatever you want. The second one that I recommend is the doorway, the duonomic doorway handles. So if you can't have a straight bar, pull-up handles, rings, suspension straps are best. For the same reason, they're versatile. You can make them anything you want. You can have any width, you can have any grip that you want, you can have rotation and things like that. So that's best. So the duonomic doorway pull-up handles, if you need it in a doorway, that's a good way to go. I've got a discount code over at reddeltaproject.com under the equipment section. If you want to check those out, they've got all sorts of, and they've got rings that you can set up on those too as well. So if I've got a small space and all I got is a doorway, duonomic is definitely the one that I would be going for. And then if you've got something that you can have, it depends on your mounting solutions. Floor joists up above in a basement or something, if you've got a beam that you can use. Basically, if anything, you can hang anything. I would just go with a set of suspension straps, like the NOSC straps that I use and stuff. There's your pull-up handles. So it's either straight bar or pull-up handles. That's what I recommend. And also the pullupdip.com company on reddeltaproject.com. Pretty sure I got a discount code for those too. It's on there if it is. They've got a pretty good doorway pull-up bar that actually goes higher than the doorway itself. And that's pretty straight. And they've got a ring for attaching like a TRX to it and stuff. That's pretty good too. So yeah, go over to the equipment section, reddeltaproject.com, duonomic handles, pull-up bar, pullupdip.com. Pullupdip.com also has a really interesting pull-up setup that you can attach to like a tree. So maybe you've got some outdoor resources that you can have. You can attach it to a wall. But if possible, like I said, straight bar is the way to go because that gives you the most versatility, with handles a close second. Mo is saying, do you like horse stance? Yeah, I like horse stance. It's very good for conditioning legs. See, that's the thing a lot of people miss about martial arts too. We've got especially in Taekwondo, we got a lot of stances and stuff. People are like, that would never help you win a fight. You know, it's like, yeah, but your objective is to win a fight. The objective with that stance is to condition your legs. It's not about fighting. It's about building stronger legs and stuff. So yeah, it can be very good. I like wide squats and stuff for that when practicing those sorts of things. Yo is finally is asking last question here. When does a book come out? It's gonna be a bit, my friends. I had to start rewriting it again about a month ago. That's the thing about the creative process. It's gonna take what it takes. You know, sometimes I can just crank out a book. Grind Style Calisthenics I put out in 2 months. It went from start to finish in 2 months. I didn't have a life for 2 months, but I did it in 2 months. You know, other books, you know, they took a while. This one took me 3 years to write. You know, because the number of times I started and finished, and it's like, no, that's not right, and everything. But writing books is like creating a puzzle, putting a puzzle together. Sometimes it just takes a while because I'm trying to figure out what to do with things. But it's coming together very well. I think you're going to like it a lot. I promise it'll be worth the wait. I definitely want it to come out before summer of this year and stuff. So keep in mind, too, that I am putting it out right now. Right? Everything about the Beautiful Strength program I give away for free here on the Red Delta Project YouTube channel. It's all of it's in these podcasts and my videos. So everything that's going to be in that book is here. So, you know, shameless plug, but make sure you subscribe and notifications and all that sort of thing, right? I just put out a video podcast a couple of weeks ago on the pack-in workout program that's going to be in the book. So if you want to just use the exercises with the programming right now, then go back into the archives of this podcast and I go through the exercises, I go through the programming, I go through how to order it, although I'm changing the order a little bit because I realized I had it a little bit, not wrong, but I got a better order that's coming out in the book. But everything I give in that program is here. It's already here. And every time I learn something and discover how pieces fit together, I always put it here first. And then when I write the book, it's just me saying, okay, here is the compendium of all that information over the past, several years or at least months in one handy to read resource. That's all the book is. I don't hold anything back. It's not like, oh, if you want the real deal, you gotta buy my book, right? No, I don't do that. I know lots of, information entrepreneurs, influencers, and stuff. They do that. They're like, oh, if you want the real secrets, you gotta buy my program. I don't do that. I give everything away for free. You just kind of go hunting for it, which I know a lot of people aren't willing to do. That's why I still put out the book. Again, it boils down to whatever's easiest for you. Some people are going to be like, I don't want to buy the book. I don't want to spend the money. I'd rather learn the long form of things through the podcast and the YouTube videos. Great. I'm certainly not here to take your money. I'm here to help you be fit and live free, my friends. I want to help you build beautiful strength. So I'm going to give you lots of options on how you do it. And the one that you should do, whatever's going to be easiest for you, whatever helps you achieve your objectives, whatever works with your resources, and whatever aligns with your preferences. That's going to be the thing that works best for you. All right, I'm out, my friends. I will talk to you not maybe next week. I'm going to be in Florida next week, and we'll see if I can't get a quick little podcast out. Maybe not. But do keep an eye on the Red Delta Project Instagram for announcements for the next episode coming out. I might put that podcast out a little earlier before the trip just to get it out sooner. So keep an eye on the space on the Instagram channel, and of course, subscribe here to the Red Delta Project YouTube channel and your podcast directory, because I always put out the audio of these about a day later. So you can get it audio if you don't want to just see my beautiful smiling face on YouTube as well. So thank you, everybody, for coming on in. Always a pleasure. Much appreciated. Don't forget equipment resources I'm mentioning, books, all that kind of stuff, coaching resources as well. Down below the link, reddeltsproject.com, along with the discount codes. They're all on the website. You don't have to go hunting for those. I put them right there and stuff. So thank you so much, everybody. I'll talk to you next week. Till then, be fit and live free.